I got good news for you on that one. You can't. That's why Jesus came. I got on a bus one time, said a stupid prayer. You ever say stupid prayers? Stupid prayers are like this. God, if you want me to stop going with this boy who treats me bad, give me a sign. God, if you want me to, here's the prayer I prayed. God, if you want me to share Christ with somebody, give me a sign. I prayed that as I was getting on a bus, leaving Bible Institute to go home. Give me a sign. I'm going to tell you something before I go any further. There's all the sign you need. The sign's already been delivered, sealed and delivered. There's all the sign you need. You don't need to ask God to give you a sunset in reverse. You don't need to ask Him to make a fleece wet on one side and multicolored on the other side. There is all the sign you need. But evidently God is a patient God, and sometimes He answers these prayers. I sat down on that bus, a man sat down next to me, an absolute true story, began to weep uncontrollably. I have already forgotten my prayer. I'm just uncomfortable that there's a grown man sitting next to me, weeping uncontrollably. I sat and stared straight ahead. In those cases, you never look toward the individual, you just look straight ahead, especially when you're chicken like I am. The man stopped weeping, and then he said, "Sir," to me, "Sir." I turned. He said, "Young man, I am sorry." I was young at that time. He said, "I am sorry." He said, "I'm sorry for losing my composure." He said, "If only I knew God." And he told me about this life, and then he concluded with, "If only I knew God." And then he looked me directly in the eye and he said, "Do you know God?" I said another silent prayer. "Dear God, would this be a sign? Is this a sign?" "Oh God, if this is a sign, turn the bus driver into an armadillo for me." Don't mess with God. You'll be looking up there, that bus driver be going, "Ah, ah, ah, ah." Afraid to share Christ because afraid of what our friends will think. Afraid that they might terminate the friendship. Afraid. Sheep die easy. I killed a sheep. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't sit in the house once and go, "Kill me a sheep." I was angry at the sheep. His name was Herman. I was going underneath the fence with 2 buckets of water to put water in the trough for Herman and his fellow sheep. And Herman came running at me and he butted me into the fence. It was a barbed wire fence, electric barbed wire fence. I dumped the water on the ground. I was standing in water, tangled in the barbed wire fence. I invented a new kind of dancing right there on the spot. When I finally got myself untangled from that fence, I was laying on the ground, desperately breathing. They had electricity that would burn off weeds running through this fence. I looked up and I swear that Herman was smiling. I could see it. Shook my fist at Herman. The next day I was walking in the barnyard and I saw Herman walking along the edge of the barn. Quickly I moved out of sight and moved up next to the corner where I knew Herman would come out. I have to tell you before I even finish this story, some of you aren't going to believe this. It's as true to my memory as I can remember. My father doesn't believe it. I moved up to the edge. I looked for something to hit Herman with just to pay him back. He butt me into the fence. There was nothing there. There was nothing. No boards. I couldn't lift the barn. And I had no time to do anything. I could hear him panting, him getting closer, his little footsteps, and then there came his ugly little head, stuck his head out. He didn't see me, just got his head out, and then he froze, and I went, "Ah!" And he died. Herman died. You ask my father to verify this story today, he'll go, Because I told my father the same story. My father said, "What happened to Herman?" "Dad, I went boo and he died." "You hit that sheep. You hit him? What'd you do with that sheep?" "No, Dad. It wasn't a little, it was a big boo. I was just boo, and he died. My father's 70 years old. We went home for Christmas a couple of years ago. My dear father, someday I get a chance to tell you how God has healed some of the things that are in our family. My dad, who was never an affectionate person, put his arms around me at the end of that Christmas time, and he hugged me tight, and he said, I love you. He said, come with me into the kitchen. I went into the kitchen, and my father, his wizened face and thinning hair, took me by the shoulders. I'm 45 years old, and he pushed me away at arm's length, and he said, son, what happened to her? At 45, I'm going, he died, Dad. It was a real big boo that I did. See, God, the sheep die easy. Not us. In the last several years, so many of my friends have died. Some of them haven't died physically. They've just died. Satan has found a way to get a claw into their life. It breaks your heart. And I start thinking, yeah, but I'm a tough sheep. And I open the door and the lion is there. Don't need God. Yes, you do. The secular world accuses us of using Christianity as a crutch. Little do they know, they're right. We are a generation of people crippled by sin, and what a beautiful crutch we have.